Hey everybody, and welcome to today's Unreal Engine 4 tutorial. In this tutorial we are going to try and create a shader for a curtain. Now the reason for creating this video is basically that I've been trying to find a tutorial like this one all over the internet, and it's really been hard to find something like this. So I basically went ahead, spent some time, created a shader that's working quite well, so I would like to share it with you and see, so you guys can see how I created this thing. In case you do have another way of creating a shader like this, do share it in the comments, as I would love to hear it, but this is going to be my take on it. Alright, so what we have here is just a very basic scene, similar to what you would find in many architectural visualization scenes. Basically, you have your hero assets in the middle, then you have a very bright opening from the side, and pretty much that's it. Simple light coming from the outside, lighting up this scene. So now here's where it's kind of gets interesting. If you want to actually use some type of curtain on this side, so I have this curtain mesh here, so I can just move it in here to cover up this hole. So now here we have a curtain. Now the problem here is, well, let's start with how we would create a model like this if we're just following basic logic. I'm gonna start with creating just a blank material. Right here, as you can see, I've actually went right click material, and I've named this M_curtain. If I open this thing up, you're gonna see it's just a blank material, so no fuss about it. And I've selected my mesh and applied the material to it. Now the first thing that you're going to notice is that I can actually see what's happening outside in here. So that's not what I want. I want this thing to be visible from both sides, which is very easy to do. All you have to do is, when you go inside the shader, you have to click on this thing to use the two-sided material option. So click this thing, and this is going to be a two-sided material. Next thing, we want to have a way of controlling the color. So I can hold down the number 3 key and click. This is going to put down this node that is going to allow, this is a basic 3 vector. So I can put this thing to the base color. And now the only thing that I need to control is find a way to control the opacity. The main problem here is that the opacity as well as the opacity mask both are closed off. And the reason for this is that when we start creating this shader, what we want to do, the first thing we want to do is select our shader. And in the shading model, go from default lit to subsurface. This is going to open up the opacity tab. So now I can just hold down 1 and click, and this is going to put in a very simple constant here. So I can click this thing and put it in the opacity. Now this value is going to control how visible my thing is going to be, or my shader is going to be. So if I go 0.1, I'm going to get a very transparent shader, but in this case, I guess 1. Let's give it a color so I can actually see what's happening. All right, so opacity 1, 0.1 should give me more or less a transparent shader, but in this case it's not giving me one, so let's see why. All right, so if but yeah, we actually can see that now it's no longer invisible from the other side, so the thing is working from both sides. But the problem here would be that now if I bake the lights like with this type of a shader, I'm gonna run into a problem. That problem is going to be that the light is simply going to pass through it, and this shader is not going to leave any type of a shadow, and that is not something that is quite useful if you're, especially if you're making a curtain. You still want to have that nice dimmed light that would fill up your scene when it's passing through the curtain. For that to happen, we have to create a bit of a more complex shader. So for now, I'm going to go back in, delete both of these, and start from the beginning of creating our more complex shader that is going to pretty much have everything that we would expect from a shader. All right, so let's create the basic shader now. Take into consideration that we want to create a basic shader, then later we're going to be able to instance out of. So by creating this master material shader, we want to take into the consideration that later when we create the instances, we want to have ease of access to some of the options or parameters that we're going to be inputting in here. So I'm going to start with the easiest ones. So hold down 1 and click. This is going to create a constant. So right click and convert this into a parameter so we can later easily switch it off or on. So turn it into a parameter, plug this thing into the roughness, and name this roughness. All right, so this parameter is going to control the roughness of our shader. Make sure that you are in subsurface in here, so shading model subsurface. All right, awesome. Now, another thing that we want to do is get the, like I said, very simple things out of the way as quickly as we can. So the simplest thing would be the normal map. So hold down the T letter on your keyboard and click anywhere. This is going to put down a texture sample node. Put this thing into the normal, and it's going to give you an error. It says texture sample missing input texture. In order to fix this, this is a very quick fix. Select the normal texture that you want to use. For me, I'm using this blue cotton normal map, so it's a very simple map. And I'm going to select it in my view here in my browser and click on this little button. So it's going to use whatever asset you have selected. So it's going to go over here, or I can click and drag it and drop it in here. So now it's going to use that certain texture. And that, well, that resolves the issue with my normal map. Next thing I want to add is the texture for the base color. So I'm going to hold down T again and click from here. There we go. Now, for this one, I'm actually, in my case, I'm going to use black and white texture. So this very simple, seamless texture in my case. So I'm going to select this and put it in here. And now I can right away go and plug this thing into the base color, but that is not what I want. Instead, I want to have a control on how I can procedurally, or not procedurally, but use a parameter to change the color of my texture. So I don't have to go in and always go in and switch it with a different texture and be bound by texture on what sort of a color I would like to have on my curtain. Now, in order to create this, we're gonna use a bit of a small trick. So first thing I want to do is I'm going to put this thing to the side, and I'm going to use a parameter. So hold on 1 and click. Put it here. Right click, convert to a parameter, and let's call this albedo or diffuse, whatever you want. Albedo intensity. All right. So the base color intensity or the albedo intensity. I want to add this thing to my texture sample. So I want to right click and add, click add, and I'm going to get this node. Also, I think you can just press A on your keyboard and click anywhere, and it's going to add like those add nodes. So just for quick access to those nodes. So take the white texture sample and put it into the slot A. Take the albedo intensity, put it in the slot B. And from here, take the default value here, and you can put it to either 1 or 0. It doesn't matter. You can change it later on. For now, I'm going to leave it to 0. And since we said that we want to have some way of controlling the color, for that I'm going to hold down 3 and click. So this is going to give me this type of a node. Now this is a constant 3 vector node, so I want to convert this to a parameter, and I'm going to call this color tint. All right, awesome. So with this color tint node, I want to add this. So again, I'm going to hold down A and click. Add this in here. But now, before we go on, and actually let's multiply both of these together. So let's take a multiply node. So press down M on your keyboard, or if you prefer, multiply. And from here, I want to get the add from here and the add from here in the B. But now you're going to see that in this add, we are missing an input B. Now the input B here, I would like to add something that is going to help drive the realism of this entire shader, and that is Fresnel. Fresnel, as you might know if you're using 3ds Max, it's the angle of the light that is going to be visible, so when it's passing through it. So in this case, I want to set up the Fresnel, and here it's not really that complicated. So you go and click in Fresnel, and again we need a controller for the Fresnel, so we're going to use another parameter. So press 1 and click, right click, convert to a parameter, and let's call this Fresnel intensity. All right, so I want to multiply both of these together again. So this thing is going to go into A, this is going to go into B, and this one is going to go into this add. So now, by having this sort of a construction, I can take this multiply and put it into the base color. For the Fresnel, by default, I want to set up some sort of a default value. Let's say 0.5 or 0.3. 0.3, I guess, would be better. There you go. Awesome. Give it a color. Let's try with a red. Yeah, this is better. And move this upwards so it's not in the way, and we want to keep this thing as clean as possible so it's easy to read. So far we've created the normal map, we've created a roughness, and we've created the base color code for our shader. So next thing I want to do is I want to create the opacity. Now the opacity is going to be a bit different, mainly because well, we're going to take the opposite of what we have in this add for the texture sample, and some well, mix it up with a parameter and then switch it to a node. It kind of sounds complicated, but it really isn't that complicated. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the add and draw out a line. So since I want to get an inverted value, I'm going to go here and type in 1 minus. So I'm going to get this math 1 minus, and I'm going to get this node. Now this node is going to allow me, let's put it like this so it's easier to see. So this one node, I want to multiply this thing with a parameter like this, and I'm going to right click and convert this to a parameter and call it Subsurface Opacity. Oh, okay. Let's, before I do this and add in a comment, let's select this, go here, so Subsurface Opacity. Choose an M or multiply, Take this thing here and this thing in here. And now I want to have a parameter switch. So right click, switch parameter. So inside the parameter, you have a static switch parameter. You take this thing, and from here, you take the multiply node. All right, let's go. The multiply node, put it in the true, and you take the SS opacity and you put it in the false. And with this thing, you want to, well, you can name this as the opacity. And from here, plug it inside the opacity over there. All right. Okay, there we go. We don't want to get the streams to cover up, so it's easier to see. All right, so like this. Awesome. All right, so we have that. The only thing that's left to create here is the subsurface color. And for that, I can just simply copy this node, Control V over here until I get it here. So now I'm gonna call this subsurface color. There we go, subsurface color. Slide it inside the subsurface. And this thing is going to be controlled directly from the tint. So I'm going to take one slider from the tint and slide it into the false. And for the true, let's go like this. For the true, I want to take the color tint and multiply it with the add from here. So let's go and hit a multiply. So one is going to be with the, this one is going to go in the B, and this one is going to go into the A. And from here, I'm going to multiply this thing into the true. All right, so like this. Now, if I apply this, my shader is functional. So let's test it out and see how it actually looks. Let me just put this thing back here and hit apply and save and close this thing. All right, so this is how our scene looks like at the moment. So let's take a look at our curtain. I can see the color, the red color that we have here. We have some way of controlling the, well, not controlling, but we can see the floral design that we have here. So let's see. I'm gonna go and in the build, hit the build lighting only. At the moment I'm on medium preset, so I'm gonna hit light only and wait for a second to see how my scene is gonna look as it is right now. So let's wait a bit for the lighting to build. So I'm gonna stop the video and I'll be back as soon as it's done. All right, as soon as the lighting build was finished, I can see right away that I have now light coming into my room, but it's filtered through the surface of our curtain over here. And since I have the reddish color, all of that tint is transferred all over the room. I can see it everywhere. All right, so now let's see what kind of a shader we've created so far. So in order to do that, I'm gonna right click on my material and create a material instance. So I'm going to call this MI, so for material instance / curtain. And I'm going to apply my material instance curtain over here. All right, so now double click on the material instance, and this is what we have. So as you remember, we did put in some parameters in there. So if I take a look at all the parameters that I have for example, the roughness, the SS opacity, the Fresnel intensity, and the albedo intensity, you can see all of those in here. So now if I, for example, go click over here on the albedo intensity, I can change this thing, and right away you can see how this thing is changing. It's being propagated instantly. I don't have to rebuild or press apply or do anything. So these are all parameters. I can turn that thing off. Fresnel intensity is going to be increased or decreased. All right, so I'm going to turn this thing off. So now what would be useful for me to have here? Well, the first thing that would be useful is so I can change the textures. So the texture sample, I can right click and go to convert to parameter and call this texture or base texture. All right, so let's give it a capital B, so base texture, and hit apply. And as soon as I do that in the material, if I go over to the instance, I'm going to see that over here I have this base texture. So I can change the texture on the fly. I can do the same thing with the texture for my normal. So right click, convert to parameter, normal texture. There we go. Hit apply again. And in the instance, it should appear over here. There we go. So now we have that option to change it as well. Now, the other thing that we might want to change is give ourselves the option to basically tile the textures. Now, inside 3ds Max or pretty much any other modeling software, when you're using textures, you're going to be able to tile them by the X or the Y axes or the U and V's. In here, it's a bit trickier because you do not have the ability to change them on the fly, but it's very easy to be created. So I'm going to go over in my material. And now, in order to create this, what I need to do is I'm going to make a simple controller for controlling the U and V's and panning the textures around. So I'm going to hold on one, click here, convert this to a parameter and call this U. Copy and paste it upwards here, so call this V. Let's put it below it. I'm going to copy, paste, go V pan, copy, paste, U pan. All right. So now I want to get all of these appended together. So I'm gonna go right click, type down append, so append vector. Take this over here and this one over here. Copy, paste, append these two together. And now I want to multiply this one over here in the B, but I also want to have a way that I can control the coordinates, and that is going to be, I'm going to need for that a texture coordinate and an add vector here. So this is going to go in the A, this is going to go in the B, and this is going to go over here. Now I want to take this node and drive it into all of the places that require UVs. In this case, I want to drive it in the normal texture, and I want to drive it in the base texture. So these two are going to be controlled by that thing. Now, what you're going to notice is right away, as soon as I plugged both of those in, I lost anything that was over here. I can no longer see the normal, or I can no longer see the base texture. The reason for this is that by default, these parameters are set to default of 0. So if I go to V and press 1, go to default V over here, so press 1 as well. Now I can see this thing better, so let's pan it back to 1 and 1. So get the defaults for all of those at 1. And now if I hit apply, this is going to save my shader. If I go into the curtains over here, I can see that I have U and V options here. So if I go in and select them, I can tell this thing, let's say if I want to go to 5 with 5. And now I have that pattern being copied around. So I'm going to hit on save. Take a look at here. and now I can see that pattern better. Since this thing is working as an instance, all the changes that I do here are going to propagate instantly. So if we go 10, you're going to see that change happen right away in the viewport. I don't have to wait for it to save. I can click here for the color tint and change the color on the fly. There you go. And the reason why you're seeing that red color still present is because when we baked the color, that thing is baked in. If I go and rebuild the light now, you're no longer going to be seeing that color. So for now, let's try and just give it a bit of a bluish color, like so. This is going to work. Hit on the opacity. Oh, this is going to make it transparent. And hit on the subsurface color. There you go. Now I'm gonna hit save and close this thing. All right, so now before I go close, I'm just gonna move this thing a bit to the back so we can see more of the sun coming into the scene. So I'm gonna rebuild the light and see how our scene is gonna look like with the new shader. So build light only, and I'll be back as soon as this thing is finished. And as soon as the light build is finished, I can see now that with my shader built and my lighting built, that when I get over here, I get lighting passing through the curtain, illuminating this wall, as you can see right here, passing all the way through here, giving me that bluish tint that I'm getting from the color of the curtain, and as well as driving these shadows here. So we have these very, well, let me just make this bigger. They are very, very diffused shadows, so realistic shadows for this type of a lighting scenario. So in general, this approach for creating material works. So once again, I'm going to open up the whole thing so you can see it better. Let's make it bigger. There we go. So this is the whole note section on how this thing was created. If you want to try and recreate this, be my guest. If you do know a different way of creating a shader for a curtain, please do share it in the comments. I'm always open to learning new ways and new things to create. And pretty much this covers how to create this type of a shader. So let's, But anyways, I hope you guys had fun and you managed to learn something new. If you do have any questions, leave them below. I will try my best to meet you in the comment section of the video. Bear in mind, I'm still using or learning Unreal Engine as well. So, hey, if I can help you, I will help you. If you did like the video, please click the like button. And if you're not subscribed, now is a great time to do so. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.